A group of Conservative MPs in an organisation called New Conservatives have suggested that if you don't get maths and English GCSE, and if you can't get more than 3 E's at A-level, you should not qualify for a student loan. Now, the logic of the argument is that people with that level of academic attainment go to university, rack up debt, don't get jobs that are any better off than if they'd not been to university at all. And what happens is the government finishes up with huge amounts of money that never get paid back because those that have been to university don't earn enough. So they're saying, right, after 3 years, people should all start to pay something back, regardless of their salary. And I looked at my numbers today. I was astonished. The accumulated amount of student loan that has not been paid back is now over £200 billion. I simply couldn't believe the number when I saw it. Well, Chris McGovern is chairman of the Campaign for Real Education and former advisor to the Number 10 Policy Unit, and I'm speaking to him from Sussex. Chris, it was very difficult for years to make the argument that not everyone should go to university. Is that argument finally getting through?
Well, it's common sense, isn't it, that we have an oversupply of graduates and an undersupply of skilled workers, whether it's builders, bricklayers, engineers. And we've got to do something about it. By the way, interestingly, China has exactly the same problem, an oversupply of graduates. I've got a plumber and his daughter working for me at the moment. I had to wait 6 months, though, before they could fit me in. You know, we've got a real problem here in the lack of skilled workers. The main argument for immigration, by the way, and I mean legal immigration, is we need skilled workers, and we're going to continue to need skilled workers. So young people going to university who aren't academic, wasting their time, they're doing Mickey Mouse degrees, they're let down. It's a job creation scheme for the universities.
Yeah, no, listen, honestly, Chris, I've been saying this for 20 years, and I believe it very strongly. But there's a cultural thing here. You know, 50% or so of young Germans go on to do proper vocational apprenticeships. They learn trades and skills. In this country, the number is about 10%. How on earth do we reverse that?
Yeah, and Germany is not alone. Most of our economic competitors are doing the same. So what we have to do, I think probably from about the age of 14, is to allow youngsters to go onto what you might say is a technical vocational pathway or an academic pathway. Those are both equally valid. We're incredibly, what can I say, snobbish in this country. We have this idea that somehow if you are academic, you are superior. And yet we know, and it's widely known, I think, becoming widely known now, that, I mean, plumbers, for example, can earn 100 grand a year or even more in London. Mm-hmm. So young people who go off to university can't pay back their loan. They're underemployed. I spoke to a conference, a national conference of admissions tutors a few years ago, and the room went silent when I said, do you understand that half of your graduates are unemployed? For example, they're working in the coffee bar over the road. There was a hushed silence in the room. But when I said that after that meeting, after that conference, 3 admissions tutors came to me privately from leading universities and said, Chris, thank you for saying that, because no one else will say it. And I think these universities know the truth of it, and they should stop. Some of them should make a stand and say, no, enough's enough. And by the way, the government today are saying, you know, you need to get a grade 4 GCSE maths to qualify, or grade 4 English. That, in fact, is a certificate of incompetence. To get a grade 4 maths, you need to get, a few years ago, it was published, these figures, 15%. So
really?
That's far too low. We should have a grade 6 or a grade 7.
Yeah. I mean, look, I completely understand all of that. But, Chris, I mean, what happened here was it was the new Labour dream, wasn't it? It was sold by Tony Blair, this university education. The Conservatives supported it, and, in fact, the numbers advanced during those years. Do you think, Chris McGovern, that this government, or the next one, whatever shape or colour that may be, do you think they'll take this advice and say, look, no, you've not reached the right academic level, we're not going to give you a student loan? Do you think anybody in Westminster will actually do this?
It does take a bit of courage, Nigel. And, you know, quite frankly, I've worked with the DfE for decades. And a lot of the time I feel they haven't got a clue. And the ministers sometimes lack the courage. I think slowly the message is getting through to young people. One of the problems we have is that teachers these days don't have any experience outside the classroom. I taught for 35 years, but I did a host of other jobs as well. They need to know what's happening in the world of work. So we need to train the teachers about what other opportunities there are. Ofsted, when they go into schools, tend to evaluate exam success, academic success, and university entrance. They're not looking at how many youngsters go off and do vocational training. It is a crisis. We've got to compete with the rest of the world. We don't have a choice in this. If we don't get skilled workers, we've just got to rely on immigration. That's a pretty bad forecast.
As ever, good, plain-spoken, common sense from Chris McGovern. Thank you for joining us tonight on the programme. And I think Chris's point there, it's about courage. Ministers having courage, doing things that will be unpopular with a certain section of the population.